3 lifelong friends, 6 trusty balls, and endless NFL takes. Welcome to 3 Guys, 6 Balls NFL Podcast.
Welcome to episode 51 of 3 Guys, 6 Balls NFL Podcast. I'm your host, Joel, and I'm here with my 2 co-hosts, Will and Avery. This week, we're going to continue building our top 50 big board for the 2026 NFL Draft by scouting players 13 through 18 on ESPN's top 50. But before we do that, I had a question that I wanted to ask you guys to get our show started. However, Will disrupted that plan, and he said he needed 2 minutes at the start of the show to talk about something that he wanted to talk about. So I'm going to let Will go first.
2 minutes might
I hate this, by the way, but go ahead.
2 minutes might be a bit much, but that's for a separate topic. So today is closing ceremonies for the Olympics, and a huge shout out to Team USA Olympic hockey, both men and women's. Did you guys catch either of those games? I know you're not hockey fans, but still.
I did not.
Man, I woke up at 5 a.m.
I forgot it already started. I didn't realize it was ending.
Sheepers. Closing ceremonies today. I woke up at 5 a.m. Sunday morning today to catch that hockey game. Holy crap. Both men and women beat Canada in overtime. 2 golds over Canada. I mean, it's just so satisfying. Just a big shout out to all the Olympic athletes. Team America won. Team America World Police. That's for sure us. That's a separate thing. Don't worry about that. So yeah, that was all. Just shout out to Team USA Hockey. And if you have a chance to see some of the saves, Connor Hellebuck is the men's goalie and Aaron Frankel is the women's goalie. If you just catch some of the highlights from their games, Frankel let up 2 goals the entire Olympics, the entire tournament, only 2 goals. And then today, Connor Hellebuck had 40 saves in just today's match. So just throwing it out there. I know it's not football. We are a football podcast, but the hockey was hockeying today. Anyway.
3 Guys, 6 Pucks. All right. Well, let's get into the question that I had for you guys today, which is related to the NFL Draft. So the question I wanted to ask is, if you guys were an NFL GM, would you have a draft for need or a best player available draft strategy?
Totally depends. How bad is that need? It all also depends on where you're at with your team. If you're trying to rebuild or just find the few missing pieces for your roster. I think in general, I like that maybe the top 10 draft picks, just pick the best available player. Because if you're the 10 worst teams, I just feel like at that point, you just need talent regardless. But definitely towards the end of the first round, just those top teams, I feel like they should be looking for the best fit.
I think it is pick-by-pick scenario. If you need a receiver and you're sitting at pick 20 and the top 4 receivers already taken and the next one's not until like mid-second, I'm not going to reach and take that next receiver. I'm just going to take best available or look to trade my pick. So I think it is very pick dependent.
Yeah, I think it is for the most part. But if I had to pick one, I would say I'm probably a best available type of guy. The reason why is because I've seen too many times where a team has had a certain need at a position, and instead of drafting a player who is better, they reach for a guy who's not as good of a player, but just fills the need, and it ends up not working out. So like we look at quarterbacks. It happens with quarterbacks all the time. Like J.J. McCarthy, Anthony Richardson, Kenny Pickett. Teams will take a quarterback because they need a quarterback so bad that they'll just reach for one in the first round, when really what they should be doing is building the overall team and taking the best available player so that when they have the right quarterback, they already have the team in place. But instead, they waste their pick on a lesser quarterback because they need a quarterback. And then it just doesn't work out and it sets them back even more. So I am more of a best player available type of guy, but I do understand that it's kind of like a situation by situation type of thing as well.
Well, and as a fan, you want best player available every time, unless they're an offensive lineman.
Yes.
You want best, flashiest player available as a fan. No one likes it. I mean, I'm sure there were some Patriots fans who were like, oh, yeah, Will Campbell, pick number 3. This fits our team great. But I'm sure there was an even larger amount that were, what are we doing picking an offensive lineman? This is not what we want. And then he went on to have a wonderful season.
Except in the Super Bowl.
Well, okay, 1 game. All right. And he'll be fine.
The most important game.
Yeah.
I think going off real quick, Will, the amount of times I've heard fans say, well, we just don't have a good line. Our line just sucks. We just don't have a good line.
Yep.
And then draft comes and like, we just got this guy I've never heard of. It's like, yeah, because offensive linemen aren't showing up on Sports Center. So it's one of those things where, yeah, it's boring. You want something flashy, but the thing that you've been complaining about all year long That's the guy you need.
It's a really good point. I agree with that a lot.
It is 100%. You hear that all the time when their team sucks. Our offensive line is just so bad. Our offensive line is just so bad. And then they get to the draft, and then it's like, why are we drafting an offensive lineman? This is so boring. I just waited the whole offseason for you guys to draft an offensive lineman in the first round. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into our scouting for today. So far, we've scouted 12 players. And on today's episode, we're going to scout players 13 through 18 on the ESPN Big Board. And then at the end of the episode, we'll add those players into our Big Board and rank them where we feel they should go. So just so you guys know who we're scouting today, those players are Washington wide receiver Denzel Boston, Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq, Miami edge Akeem Mesidor, Utah offensive tackle Caleb Lomu, USC wide receiver Makai Lemon, and LSU cornerback Mansoor Delane. So we'll get started with the number 13 player on ESPN's top 50, which is Washington wide receiver Denzel Boston. And I want to start this one by going over a player comp, but it's not my player comp. This is a player comp that comes from NFL.com, and I wanted to see what you guys thought of this player comp. So NFL.com lists Denzel Boston's player comp as Puka Nacua. So I wanted you guys to tell me if you agree or disagree with this player comparison and why.
Man, I understand it, I guess. I don't know if I agree with it. I hadn't really considered it, honestly. He's willing to do the work in the run blocking. He doesn't drop the ball a lot. The thing I don't agree with is he's only had 650 yards after the catch in his entire career. He just doesn't have that after the ball's in my hand playmaking ability that you see from Puka. So I understand it on some aspects, but I don't in others. And then against heavy competition, against Oregon and Ohio State combined, he only had 51 yards in those two games. And that, again, is not what you're seeing out of a player like Puka. Unless we're talking about him straight out of college, which if that's a player comp, I actually probably don't know as much about him back then. But if we're doing it for now, I don't see it for right now.
Yeah, I think it's based off of, I would assume it's based off of when they came out of college. But if you look at Puka Nacua's stats at BYU, they're actually not that good. They're solid, but they're not he's not getting 1,000 yards every year. So I don't know if BYU just didn't use him right or what, but as soon as he stepped into the NFL, he's been awesome. So at first, when I saw this, I was like, there's no way that this guy's Puka Nacua. But after watching his tape, I can see some similarities in their game. Neither of them have elite speed, but they're both physical, competitive receivers. They're both good at run blocking. So I can see how they're similar. I don't know if I would say that necessarily that is the player comparison that I would give, but I could definitely see some similarities between him and Puka Nacua.
It seems a little bit low effort. I guess Puka Nacua has been one of those guys that's been in the news more recently, just mainly postseason play. But I definitely think there's a lot better comparisons. Drake London, I feel like would be a much better comparison, size wise. It just seems a little weird to just go straight for Puka Nacua, especially, their physicals aren't even the same. I don't even they're both receivers, so I guess there's that. And they're both pretty good at what they do.
They're both players who play football.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like an accurate way to represent Boston receiver Denzel Washington.
All right, well, now we'll get into the actual scouting report part. So I think Denzel Boston is an elite red zone weapon because of his 6'4", 210-pound size. Over the last 2 seasons, he has 20 touchdowns. So a quarterback can just throw it up to him and just let him use his size to make a play. He has an elite catch radius because of his size, and he's very good at tracking the ball. So it makes things a lot easier on the quarterback because they don't have to throw a perfect pass. Obviously, you want them to throw the perfect pass, but if they don't throw the perfect pass, he has the ability to still catch the ball because he has the size and the catch radius to do it. If you put the ball in his area, there's a good chance that he's going to come down with it. He reminds me of Mike Evans in this way. And I'm not saying that he is Mike Evans, but I just think that this specific skill that he has is similar to Mike Evans because you can just throw the ball up and just let him make a play. Also, I thought he had really good after the catch ability because he's not the fastest guy. He's not the shiftiest guy. But what I saw from him after the catch comes because of his size. I frequently saw him bouncing off tackles after the catch. I saw him dragging defenders for extra yards. I really like how he fights for extra yards before he goes down. And Washington often used him on screen passes where they would just get him the ball and just let him run through defenders. So I think he uses his size just overall very well, whether it's catching a touchdown in the end zone, whether it's using his catch radius to catch a ball that's not thrown perfectly, or whether it's just after the catch, breaking tackles and fighting for those extra yards. I think overall he uses his size very, very well.
He does feel a little bit like it's just somewhere in between. Like he could play tight end if he wanted to, not as a blocking tight end, but he's got just those physical traits, just that kind of hybrid look. I remember Oregon playing him, just a very, very physical receiver, like Jill said, and even on the scouting report, just pointing out that he's a great, great red zone threat. The ability to catch those contested balls, jump over defenders, honestly, looks like a very, very solid wide receiver.
I think that, as we mentioned here, physical blocker on the perimeter, I think he's great at run blocking, and that's going to be huge because you see it from the top level guys, right? Like Puka Nacua, it's going back to him. That's what he did well this year. You saw it a lot on run plays. You see out there in front, you see Nacua setting the edge. They shift him in, motion him in a lot, did the crack on the linebacker, and he's got the edge, and they're running right off his butt. And so I think if teams are paying attention, they will utilize that as much as they can. The NFL is a copycat league, and so they're going to see something they like, and they're going to copycat it with whoever they can. And so I think that actually helps to boost him up the draft board quite a bit. But getting off the line of scrimmage and getting upfield more is some pretty big areas of improvement for him.
I feel like that's kind of like the thing that every receiver that we've scouted so far has. Like, that's the thing they need to work on, is getting off press coverage at the line of scrimmage against the physical corners. So far, I've noticed that with every single receiver that we've scouted. So it just seems to be a common theme there. I do want to bring this up, and Will, you kind of mentioned it already, but something to note about Denzel Boston is how productive he was, or how unproductive he was, I should say, when he went up against the better teams. So here's some notable games to use as examples for Denzel Boston. So 3 games from 2024. So against Indiana, he had 4 catches for 43 yards. 2 catches for 35 yards against Penn State, and then he had 3 catches for 43 yards against Oregon. And then in 2025, he had 3 catches for 26 yards against Ohio State, and then 4 catches for 25 yards against Oregon in 2025 as well. He did have 2 touchdowns in that game, but still only 4 catches for 25 yards. So that is something to note with him. Why do you guys think that is? Why do you think his production dips when he goes against those better teams?
It could just be game plan where they're trying to do something different, but it also could be that these better teams are focusing more on the better athletes. And so they're doubling him, they're shifting over, they're taking away, not that every team's not trying to do this, just some teams are just better at it. They're taking away the primary receiver. Okay, beat me somewhere else. So
I agree with Will completely. I mean, especially in college, you see game plans shift dramatically when you're facing really tough defense, especially when you're both really good teams and every other game you've been playing has been middle of the road. You have the resources to take some of these X factor players off the board, or at least limit them. I think that it's probably the case here as well. I mean, I know Oregon is, every time they play some big game, they've got their really great wide receivers that rarely get touches. In fact, I felt like most of the time, Jamari Johnson is their backup tight end, who will also be in the draft next year, got a large majority of touches because he was just a relatively unknown threat, because every other player is being, carefully watched. But I mean, even Denzel Boston, even in that game with 4 catches, 25 yards, he still got 2 touchdowns. So it's one of those things where it's, situational strategy and him being a really good red zone threat. They utilized him properly. They just weren't, looking for him every down.
All right, well, let's move on to the number 14 player on the ESPN Top 50 Big Board. We are all Oregon fans, so I think we're all a big fan of Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq, but there is no bigger fan than Avery. So I'm going to have Avery start with Kenyon Sadiq.
Kenyon Sadiq is a baller. Dude's a straight-up athlete. Every time he's on the field, every time he touches the ball, something awesome usually happens, whether he's hurdling someone, you think he might be tackled, and then it turns out none of his limbs touch the ground. He ends up spinning out, getting an extra 10 to 15 yards. Every time he touches it, something amazing is happening. I know that he is a man among boys for the most part against most college competition. He reminds me a lot of Evan Ingram, both size-wise and then also his play style. One thing here, areas of improvement. This is where I kind of diverge a little bit with Joel, but only to a degree. Just that catch focus on throws above his numbers. I have noticed that a lot of the throws from Dante Moore, his quarterback, seem to go a little bit over his head. Which is unfortunate because of all the receivers. I mean, like, the amount of times that those Oregon receivers had to slow down to catch a ball was ridiculous. And the fact that it only happened to Kenyon was a little bit ironic. But my thing isn't necessarily catching above the numbers. My thing is landing properly. There was 2 times in, like, immediate memory that he jumps up. I mean, a great, like, diving catch, but vertical diving, and then ends up landing, and he's just so big that it's like, hey, that cannot have, felt good. That couldn't have been good. I'm worried about him breaking a hip, even at age 21. So I would say for the most part, it's really just keeping himself healthy. This is not a direct comparison, but just as far as injuries go, a little bit of Derrick Rose is how I've always kind of seen him. Again, they're not the same type of player. They don't even play the same sport. They're not the same size. But Derrick Rose was a victim of his own athleticism, where just constant explosive jumping from both knees. It was only a matter of time before it just caught up with him. It was just unfortunate that it happened earlier than you would like. I really hope that Kenyon Sadiq paces himself, at least as far as the physically risky plays, maybe get a little bit more like, and not to the same degree as, Lockett. Tyler Lockett, where he's just, protecting himself a little bit more. Of course, by doing that, you do negate some of the explosive, amazing plays that he does have. So it's really kind of up to him and how he feels like he wants to spend his NFL career. But this guy's a monster.
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind when you look at Kenyon Sadiq, just looking at him, is that he's an absolute freak athlete. He's 6'3", 245. He's got a 41.5-inch vertical. He can power clean 365 pounds, bench 435 pounds. He can run a 4.5 40. The dude is just an absolute freak athlete. And he uses every bit of that athleticism as a blocker. And that's really where he excels, is as a blocker. Oregon used him as a blocker a lot because he's so good at it. He's just very physical and impactful as a blocker. The only thing with his blocking, I would say, is that his technique needs some refinement, but I think that can be easily fixed at the NFL level. He's more of just a good blocker because he is such a good athlete that he just uses athleticism to overpower the defenders instead of actually with the proper technique. But I think that is a pretty easy fix for him at the NFL level.
I've got some real mixed feelings here. If you just stop at his statistics, he's not a first-round pick. He's just not. If just straight numbers. But when you watch the tape, going back, he had 40 receiving yards a game and 8 total touchdowns. Now, they were all receiving touchdowns. 8 touchdowns, great. But 40 yards a game, you're not talking about that at any position, well, maybe running back, but not tight end or receiver as, 40 yards a game, that's a first-round pick. That's for sure first-round guy.
But that's because Oregon used him as a blocker so much because he's so good at it.
Yep, that's where I was going next, is that the tail of the tape says something different. If you watch the film, it says something completely different. Great body control and explosiveness. He gets moved all over the formation. They use him in the run blocking so much. If you watch Oregon play, they're very much, and have been for a long time, they run the spread, at least I still believe they run the spread, but they run like a shorter spread, to where it's a lot of swing passes, a lot of screens, a lot of running out of the spread. They don't push the ball that deep that frequently. Someone's going to disagree with that, I'm sure. Well, if you look at these percentages, doesn't matter. He's got strong, semi-inconsistent hands, but when he has the ball in his hands, it's staying in there. He's too fast for linebackers to keep up with him, and he's too strong for DBs to affect him. And so, like you said, Joel, getting the right leverage on the blocking, he needs some work, but that's just technique work. And so, my real issue with him is that what you're going to get day one out of the box with Kenyon Sadiq is not going to be equivalent to the value of the pick that he's going to go at. And people are talking like pick 9 to the Chiefs. Some people are talking mid-20s. I think that the value you're going to get from him is not going to be equivalent to the value of pick.
Yeah, Avery, I'm curious if you agree with that, Avery, because you compared him to Evan Ingram. So, like, if you knew, Avery, that you were getting an Evan Ingram type of guy with, let's just say, the Bucks have pick 15. So let's say pick 15. Would you be excited about that? If you're getting Evan Ingram at pick 15, would you be excited about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I would. I feel like the ceiling's a little higher than Evan Ingram. To be fair, though, I do feel like tight ends are kind of like you get like you get from your tight end how you want to use them. That's a horrible. I did not word that very well, but
Made perfect
it's
sense
just
to
one of
me.
those things where if I mean you look like what Will said here, the stats like they don't it doesn't tell the whole story. The other thing is you have another future NFL player, Jamari Johnson, that's also getting. I mean, if you look at his stats, it's probably like 80% of what Kenyon got. So the thing is they're not necessarily. I mean, it's not like. I mean, if he played at some school where he is the only player getting drafted, like, yeah, he'd probably have twice as good of stats, because they're going to him more often. And I do think that is valuable to see, especially when defenses know coming into a game, this is their guy and we still can't stop him. So that is something else to look at. And that's usually how I'll decipher, higher stats like that is like, okay, this was a known commodity coming into every game and he still got his numbers. The big thing to me is just the purely athleticism. I just every time he touches the ball, it's a highlight play. And that's something that I feel like in the NFL right now, I mean, it's partially fan service, I guess, some exciting offensive players. But, I mean, that's usually the difference between getting a first down and not getting a first down, breaking a play wide open. And that is what you get. So it'd be one thing if he was just a sure bet, always catching the balls, just reliable. But he's more than reliable. So for that, I think at 15, absolutely, I would pick him. I mean, I am biased too, but still, I'd pick him.
Okay, so follow-up question for both of you guys. Where would you put Kenyon Sadiq compared to Brock Bowers, Tyler Warren, and Colson Loveland? Because those were the three guys that were drafted in the first round the last 2 years. So where would you put Kenyon Sadiq compared to those three guys as a tight end?
I'd put him in the same spot as Colson Loveland and Tyler Warren, honestly. I feel like that is something where it depends on your usage. If you're a team that's not using your tight ends that well, or just you've got better options, then hey, maybe go with somebody else. But I remember watching both Tyler Warren at Penn State and Loveland at Michigan, and none of those guys did anything more than Kenyon Sadiq does. Not as far as just stats necessarily, but just as far as their physicals, their ability to catch, their ability to create space and break tackles. So, I mean, again, I'm not saying that he's necessarily going to have a better rookie year. One, because I don't know what team he's on, and then two, I don't know how they're going to use him. But especially if they're using him to block a little bit more, then yeah, I mean, you're not going to see as many, receptions and yards.
I think due to frame size only, right? Because both Tyler Warren and Colson Loveland were 6'4", 6'5", right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loveland's a skinny boy, though.
And the
Or at
one
least he
thing
was a year ago.
One thing I've consistently learned from watching scouting reports and doing all that kind of stuff is that, boy, howdy, does 1 inch make a huge difference when it comes to scouting. And we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later with Makai Lemon for sure, because Mount got a molehill there to me. But I do think I put Sadiq under probably all 3, 4 of them. You said Bowers, Loveland, and Warren's, yeah, under all 3 of them. But again, it comes back to usage on his team. To go back to what you were saying, Avery, Jamari Johnson this year, 32 receptions, 510 yards. Sadiq got 51 catches, 560 yards. So Sadiq was targeted more, or had more touchdowns. Jamari Johnson only had 3, Sadiq had 8. He had to share too much time, and that took away from him. Whereas I don't think Loveland or Warren or Bowers had to share the same time. I mean, Bowers at Georgia, that's all anybody would ever talk about down there. So I put him under there, but it's probably just recency bias, or I guess unbiased. I guess maybe I don't.
I think that's fair. Will's take. Honestly, I do think that's fair. I don't think that Sadiq has necessarily proven anything in college that he is better than these other prospects. I just think that big playability is really what separates and, in my mind, adds enough value to go over. I wouldn't put him over Bowers just because Bowers has proven it year in and year out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think that given the right team, he could be very similar to Brock Bowers, though. Just an absolute threat of a receiving tight end who can also block very well.
Yeah, and just to go to one thing that Will had kind of brought up with the scouting reports and how it makes a difference for 1 inch versus this guy versus this guy. It's like we talked about this last year with Harold Fannin Jr., right? He's not the typical size that you want in a tight end, but look at the rookie season he had. He was very good for the Browns. So I don't necessarily think that the size of Kenyon Sadiq makes any difference when evaluating him as a player. I know we kind of talked about it for Ruben Bain too, and how he doesn't have the arm length and that type of stuff. But the reason why it's a factor for Ruben Bain is because his lack of length doesn't allow him to make tackles that he should make. Like, he misses a lot of tackles. He actually missed over 15% of his tackles in every single college season. So when in that case, it does make a difference. But in the case of Kenyon Sadiq, I don't think his size makes any difference when it comes to evaluating the player. All right, so let's move on to the number 15 player on ESPN's Top 50 Big Board, which is Miami edge Akeem Mesidor. I'm excited to talk about Akeem Mesidor because after watching his tape, I think he's actually my favorite defensive player in this entire draft. If you were to look up the definition of relentless motor, you'd see the name Akeem Mesidor next to it. This guy is flying around the field 100 miles an hour on every play, and especially when he's rushing the passer. And I'm going to say something that I'll get a lot of hate for, and I do not care. Akeem Mesidor is a better pass rusher than Ruben Bain. Akeem Mesidor is a better pass rusher than Ruben Bain. And it's not just because he had more sacks than Bain. Watch the tape, and you'll see Akeem Mesidor consistently beating Ruben Bain to the quarterback. There were a number of plays where I watched Akeem Mesidor beat Ruben Bain to the quarterback, and the only reason Ruben Bain was credited with a half sack on the play is because the quarterback wasn't technically down yet when he got there, but really it was Akeem Mesidor that made the play. He's got an elite first step, he's got active hands to get off blockers, he's got an impressive change of direction, and he's going 100 miles an hour until the play is over. It's unfortunate because Akeem Mesidor won't be drafted in the top half of the first round because he'll be a 25-year-old rookie, but I don't care. Akeem Mesidor might just be the best pass rusher in this entire draft. I absolutely love this guy. Will, I'm thinking that you don't agree with me.
No, I was trying to think of teams in the back half of the first round that I would be a good fit. Because what you just told me, Joel, was, well, reading between the lines of what you just said, is that he's very good, but needs someone else to draw the attention. Because better or not, Ruben Bain drew all the attention on that defensive line. He got the double teams, he got the chip help, he got all that stuff on the opposite side because Ruben Bain was the name that drew the attention. So the backseat rusher, Mesidor here, was able to reap all the benefits because Ruben Bain got all the attention, which is great. I love that. What did he do with that attention? Was he made play after play after, or with the lack of attention, was he made all the plays. It's not like he didn't get the attention and then didn't make the plays. He made up for it. He made that whole team better.
Do you think that just because of what I said, or do you think that because that's actually what you think from scouting him?
No, I actually have him ranked higher than Ruben Bain as well. But I think that might be a part of it. Same thing we were just taking away from Kenyon Sadiq with, we're now giving to Mesidor. He had to share the spotlight on that defensive line. The problem was he wasn't as big of a name as Ruben Bain, and so they shifted all the help to the other side. So I also like Mesidor a lot. And I'm just going to kind of cut to the end here because I think the only thing that's really being talked about with Mesidor is, he'll be a 25-year-old rookie. That's a big old who caresville for me. You sign him.
I don't care.
You get him in a rookie contract that has a 4-year guarantee, fifth-year team option. You keep him for that fifth-year team option. He is in a probably late first round, if not early second round contract, so it's very team favorable. By the time his first contract over, he's 30 years old, and now you don't have to re-sign him. You ask any company ever, when they hire somebody, they want 5 good years out of somebody. That's all that they can really hope for. After that, we got our money worth. If we bring him in and train him for 5 good years, 5 elite pass rushing years, I mean, no team's going to complain about that. On a rookie deal, and then you don't have to re-sign him because he's 30 years old, I mean, come on. That's the dream.
I mean, I think because he is a little bit older and he does have more experience, I think he steps into the NFL and is a day one starter, and he doesn't need to be a guy who needs to be trained up as a pass rusher. I think he's an NFL-ready pass rusher right now, and I think, Will, based off of what you were saying earlier, where he needs somebody on the other side to have all the attention, The perfect fit for Akeem Mesidor would be the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
At pick 17. With Aiden Hutchinson on the other side, Akeem Mesidor would have a double-digit sack season.
21, Pittsburgh. If they're going to take a quarterback and he's still there,
Yeah,
opposite
that's
TJ
another
Watt.
good spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although the last thing they need is more defense. They need to work out their offense. So
I agree with both of you, even the parts where you disagreed. I still agree with that. No, I agree with Joel completely. But also, I'm glad Will brought that up. That because the line was being distracted by other big bodies, it allowed him to go in and do work. I mean, fortunately, defense, as well as offense, is a team sport. And so, if that's what it requires, some bigger body, someone else to distract, draw a double team, whatever, to be able to go in there. I mean, I agree with Joel. The motor is insane. It is, like he said, the definition of relentless. Also, I think he is ready to start day one. So I do think that he would be a good 1-2 punch with some other, good edge rusher or even a big defensive tackle to take the pressure off.
Yeah, I mean, really the only negative thing I have to say about him, aside from his age, which I don't care about, but people will say is a negative. The only other thing I have to say about him on the negative side is that he sometimes does lose his balance and loses his body control because he's going so fast that his body just can't keep up with how fast he's trying to move. Go watch the tape of Akeem Mesidor. This guy is moving so insanely fast on every single play, and he does not stop until the play is over. Like, it is insane how quickly he gets off the ball, how fast he's moving throughout the entire play. This guy just does not stop, but sometimes his body just cannot keep up with him because he is trying to go so fast. But that's really the only other negative thing that I would have to say about him. But he's my favorite defensive player in this entire draft. Absolutely love him.
I would like to see him do a better job of converting his speed into power. And our last thing here in the area of improvement is lacks the strength to be offensive lineman with good anchors. He's got incredibly fast hands as well, and he uses a two-hand swipe. He will go down with it, or he tries to stay outside, so he'll go, maybe right with it. And he swipes hands away, but that's just not always going to work. Some of these elite tackles in the NFL are just unbelievably fast at replacing their hands after they've been swiped, or punching with one hand, and then after the swipe, punching with the other hand. I want to see more of him converting his speed into power and using that speed as power rather than just straight speed. But yeah, the high motor and the speed is going to make every defensive coordinator just incredibly happy.
Absolutely. And we mentioned this with Ruben Bain, so I'll mention it again here because they both play for Miami. Their defensive line coach is Hall of Fame edge Jason Taylor. So he has coached up these two guys very, very well. Overall, I think Akeem Mesidor is, we'll talk about it later too, but Akeem Mesidor is a better player than Ruben Bain, in my opinion. I just don't like Ruben Bain that much, but I love Akeem Mesidor. All right, so let's move on to the number 16 player for ESPN, which is Utah offensive tackle Caleb Lomu. So, Will, you're up.
Yep, I knew that was coming. If Caleb Lomu had a larger frame, he would easily be the number one tackle in this draft. Just leaps and bounds better than both Maui Noah and definitely Spencer Fano. I cannot believe Fano's ahead of this guy. Truly shocked me. He's 6'6", only 304 pounds. And I know for the average human, only 304 pounds is substantial. But when you're talking offensive tackle, it's not. He has the softest and fastest feet that I've seen an offensive tackle have in a long time. And you think that's a bad thing? When you're trying to kick and slide and get your spot, you don't want heavy stomping dinosaur feet. You want soft, fast feet, but he's also able to plant his feet and set a good anchor, good punch, and elite ability to recover. Because he's got a smaller frame, he gets pushed off balance a bit, but his ability to recover and stay with the rusher is second to none. I'm pretty sure. He's got the best technique of the three tackles that we've looked at so far. Utah used him a lot as a pulling tackle. He moved a lot. He wasn't hitting a lot of the defensive linemen. They were running usually away from him, and so he'd pull and be the lead blocker. So he was hitting a lot of second-level guys, which played to his strength immensely. Because he had a problem, because of his size, he had a problem moving earth at the line of scrimmage. Great in pass rush, couldn't possibly move a defensive lineman on a run play to save his life, it seemed like. But using him as a pulling tackle, I'm so used to pulling guards, using him as a pulling tackle, getting downfield, he was able to block linebackers, block safeties, and he's fast enough to stay ahead of the run. There's a play that I saw in so many different scouting reports where he's 30 yards downfield blocking a safety as his running back is running right behind him and then ends up scoring a touchdown. It was just incredible to see. He's constantly looking for work, heads on a swivel. As the D-line stunts in front of him, he waits until the last possible second to make sure the pass-off happens, and then he's picking up the next guy with his, again, quick feet and quick hands. I think he will struggle in the league against edge rushers who use brute force, like Myles Garrett. Everybody struggles against Myles Garrett. But against like a Myles Garrett type where they're just using brute force just to get through him because of his size, I think he has first-round talent and technique and a third-round body.
Let me ask, what do you guys think of Lomu compared to Fano?
Oh, Lomu is way better. I truly don't understand how everyone says, oh, Fano's the best and Lomu's the second best. That is just not true.
Not true.
It is a pure size thing. That's it.
That's interesting because I feel like as a podcast, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but we think that Mesidor is better than Bane, but everybody else thinks Bane is better than Mesidor. And we think that Lomu is better than Fano, but everybody else thinks Fano is better than Lomu.
We're the experts, so they need to They need to listen to us.
Well, we also said Jackson Dart was going to be really good, and guess what happened?
Yeah,
I'm just
he was pretty good. Yeah,
I mean that was me who said that first, by the way. So, but there was two things with Caleb Lomu that stood out to me, and Will already mentioned one of them, which was I was impressed with his ability to find defenders when he's pulling and he's on the move. He quickly located them where the defender was at, and because of that, he was able to open additional holes in the run game. The second thing I was impressed with was his ability to expand the pocket in pass protection. I didn't see him get pushed back into the quarterback. He would either move his man further out to give his quarterback more room, or he would hold his ground and not let the pocket collapse. And watching his tape made me even less of a fan of Fano, because when you watch Caleb Lomu, truly the only part of the pocket that was clean was where Caleb Lomu was. Everywhere else was an absolute mess. And Will, you were correct last time when you said Utah's right guard was absolutely terrible. I noticed how bad he was while I was watching the left side of the line because the quarterback was being pressured from the entire right side of the line and not where Caleb Lomu was. So I really liked his ability to redirect. He was so bad. So bad. I really liked Caleb Lomu's ability to redirect pass rushers with his hands and throw them off their pass rush plan. I really liked Caleb Lomu a lot more than Spencer Fano. Just watching his tape, I think it was so much better than Spencer Fano's.
I agree. I didn't have as many thoughts on this guy, but I did know that I'm like, this guy, why is this guy ranked lower than Fano? I remember because I'd then look at some of those plays from Lomu and then locate Fano and be like, I mean, I know this is Lomu's highlight, but like, geez, this is near night and day. So yeah, I completely agree.
It's a full frame thing.
Yeah. One thing I want to bring up real quick, too, is just for an area of improvement. I think he needs to get better with his ability to finish. Too many times I saw him let go of defenders early because the ball carrier had either moved away from his side or ran past him. I just didn't see him give a full effort on blocks right up to the whistle like you do with Fano or Maui Noah. I think those guys block until the whistle. I didn't see Caleb Lomu doing that. I think he came off of his blocks early, and although in the plays that I watched, his defender didn't end up making the play, they could potentially make the play. Like when you're in the NFL against guys who are faster, they're bigger, stronger, if you don't finish the block, there's potential that those guys could end up making the play. So I think that's something that Caleb Lomu needs to work on. All right, number 17. The number 17 player on ESPN's Top 50 Big Board is USC wide receiver Makai Lemon, my favorite player in this entire draft. And so for this one, I asked you guys to give me a player comp. And the reason I asked you to give me a player comp for Makai Lemon is because I've had a player comp for him for a couple weeks now, and I'm eager to share it. But before I do, I want to know if my comp is close to what you guys are thinking or if it's way off. I want to know how badly the internet is going to roast me here. So, Avery, why don't you start? Give me your player comp for Makai Lemon.
I initially had one, and now I kind of have two, like kind of a hybrid. At first, I was kind of thinking JSN, but then I was also kind of looking at Godwin a little bit too. And then looking at both of them, I'm like, honestly, he seems like just something kind of in the middle here, just as far as just his ability to, I mean, just the reliability of JSN, but also the strength of Godwin. Honestly, it looked literally like just somewhere in between those two players. That's what I had.
I also wrote down JSN. Similar size, coming out of college, similar questions. And we have to build up speed, to have an explosive first step. Same thing coming out of Ohio State for JSN. I truly think it's kind of spot on. He just always sits in the hole, finds the open spot, makes the catches, and moves forward.
All right, so that makes me feel a little bit better. I don't think my comp for him is as crazy as some people might think it is.
Watch this be Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he told us not to go with him because he wanted to go with him to make us look. Yeah.
Yeah, I did tell them not to choose Amon-Ra St. Brown because that's what everybody says his player comp is, and I disagree. When I watch Makai Lemon play, I see Antonio Brown. He's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, but he beats you anyway. It's the elite body control. It's the ability to track the ball. It's the aggressive style that he plays with. He plays 10 times bigger than his frame, and he makes insane catches that he has absolutely no business making. USC was so confident in his ability to make catches, they would throw him fade routes in the end zone like he has the size of DK Metcalf. He's dangerous with the ball in his hands, and I truly think that Makai Lemon is the best receiver in this draft. When I watch Makai Lemon play, I get the feeling that he is a special player that I don't get when I watch Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, or Denzel Boston. He does not care about his size. He does not care what size you are. He's not afraid to get hit. He's not afraid to do all the dirty work. He runs great routes. And I'm telling you guys, Makai Lemon is something special.
He's him? Is that what you're saying?
He's him.
Makai Lemon. Him. Excuse me.
I mean, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of that comp? Antonio Brown.
I like it. I can see that.
Another thing, too, another reason why is because if you watch highlights of Antonio Brown and watch highlights of Makai Lemon, you'll see on there that there's plays where Antonio Brown is just doing a nasty stiff arm to some of these guys to get him off of him. And Antonio Brown is like 5'10", like 185 pounds. He's a little bit lighter and slightly shorter than Makai Lemon, but Makai Lemon's not a big guy. And he's just finding ways to get off of these defensive backs to get extra yards. Like I saw him throw some nasty stiff arms. This dude, again, has no business making some of these catches, and he's making it look easy. Like he's not even trying, and he just makes the catch that he has absolutely no business making whatsoever. This dude is not blessed physically, but his mindset and the way that he plays is insane.
Would you say he's your Jackson Dart of the year?
Yes.
Okay.
My favorite player in this whole draft, Makai Lemon, and it's not close.
The amount of times I heard people in scouting reports, whether it be PFF or any random YouTuber like us, say, well, if he were 6 foot, dude's 5'11" and a half.
1 inch.
Dude's 5'11" and a half. I just truly don't think that matters anymore. You can be 5'11" and play bigger. I looked up how tall Cooper Kupp was because I legitimately thought he was 5'10", 5'11". Dude's 6'2". I would have guessed he was 3 inches shorter. Now, not taking anything away from Cooper Kupp, he just stature-wise looks smaller. I think we're at a point to where in the NFL, that few inches does not matter as much anymore. In the receiver position specifically, your ability to gain separation and to get open matters significantly more than your height. Because if you can be open and make the catch, then who cares how tall you are? I actually think he uses it to his advantage more, where he just sneaks in behind the defense or sits in the holes of the zone, rather than being a big body like a Tet, who's a 6'4", and you're going to see him everywhere in the field because he stands literally is just taller than everybody else.
Yeah, I think really where his size comes into play is he does have a little bit of a limited catch radius due to his size, but honestly, it doesn't matter. He'll make the catch anyway. If you give him the opportunity to make the catch, he's going to make it anyway. And really the biggest thing I think he needs to work on is the same thing that we mentioned with Denzel Boston and every receiver we've scouted so far. He struggles against physical corners at the line of scrimmage. It's the same thing with every receiver so far, at least the top ones in the draft, because we haven't got to the bottom ones yet, but the same thing. He struggles against press coverage, physical corners at the line of scrimmage, But outside of that, man, Makai Lemon can do everything that you could possibly want from a receiver.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I agree. I think his dependability, but also his ability to make the big play, not even necessarily, I mean, he also has that ability, the yards after catch, which is, something that JSN doesn't have as much of, at least, comparing, college to, NFL, fairly here, which is why I kind of gave him that Chris Godwin comparison as well. I was just curious if he's more injury prone or where the real weakness is here. Because like Joel said, Antonio Brown was a bona fide superstar for a number of years and was also undersized. But it's just one of those things where, being at the right place at the right time, having the ability to go in, make the catch, having the courage to make that catch while being pummeled is huge. So yeah, I agree with Joel. I think he's, this dude could be a superstar for sure.
I'm curious to see where you guys have him ranked because
we have him ranked, comrade.
I absolutely love this guy. I absolutely love Makai Lemon. So I'm excited to see where you guys have him ranked versus some of these other guys that we've already talked about. All right, but let's move on to the number 18 player on the ESPN Top 50 Big Board, which is LSU cornerback Mansoor Delane. Will, why don't you start us off with this one? Tell us about Mansoor Delane.
Man, I love this man, Mansoor Delane.
Sore.
I think he's a good candidate to go to the Rams. I really do.
I don't think he makes it that far. I would love it. Love it if he did. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure my stats and our stats match up here. 45 tackles in the season. We've got 14 pass deflections, 2 interceptions, a completion percentage of just 26.1% against him on over 200 pass coverage snaps. Elite coverage instincts, did not allow a single touchdown in 2025. And only two.
And yeah, I was going to say
and
that.
Only
and
two
only two
receptions of over
yards.
20 yards. Yeah, that is unbelievable. He would have more tackles and more pass deflections if they didn't just quit throwing the ball his way. The opposing teams just decided we're not going to go that way against LSU. We will throw to anybody else but whoever 4 is on. And unfortunately, he's your best corner, so he's going up against the top wide receiver. And so it's just a pure problem. He is able to play at the highest level on both man and zone, and did as such in Virginia Tech. They played all zone. Well, mostly zone. At LSU, they aggressively played man coverage, and he was all ACC and all SEC honors, I think All-American at both schools, and so able to play at the highest level. His speed is good, but not great. Shorter arms may prove a problem when going up against bigger receivers like an A.J. Brown, who's both large and physical. But as we have here, he does not back down from these receivers. He goes at them. He is on them. I love Mansoor Delane. I watched a lot of his film today, and good stuff. I would love to see him on the Rams. I would love to see him on the Rams. He's really good.
He reminded me a little bit of just a bigger honey badger.
Yeah.
Just the aggressiveness in which he attacks the ball just seemed just almost kind of downright frightening, especially playing man, just having this guy on you. You are on his island. Yeah, super impressive. I am really curious. I'm always curious to see how cornerbacks do making the transfer from, the transition from college to NFL. Just because, sometimes, I'm glad he left Virginia Tech and went to the SEC just to kind of prove it's like, hey, I can do this in the big boy league. I mean, even though the SEC has kind of deteriorated a little bit the past few years, but no, I think
still
this guy
it's still better than mostly everywhere else.
Duke won the ACC title, by the way. That's the ACC right now. Just so
and then
everyone
they didn't
knows.
put him in
I
the
think
playoff.
they were like 6-4. Yeah. No one even was mad about it either. Like, that's how bad they were. No one, even Duke fans were like, yeah, I mean, we don't need to take another L. Let's end on a win here. No, but I think this guy is great. I like just particularly the strength here, attacks the football and finishes plays. That's the biggest thing for me is just that ferocity of going in, but then also finishing the play. The number of times I've seen a cornerback go in strong and then barely miss and just let that receiver, run for an extra 15 yards before the safety has to go get him. I like this guy a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I truly think that Mansoor Delane is going to be a shutdown corner in the NFL. He's got really fluid movement skills that allow him to mirror whatever their wide receivers are doing, and he sticks with them through their breaks. I also really liked how he just smothers the catch point of the ball. So whether the ball is up high, down low, on the chest, it doesn't matter. Wherever the ball is intended to be, he is smothering that area to prevent the wide receivers from making that catch. So I truly do think that Delane will be a shutdown corner in the NFL.
One additional thing to note here, during the season, didn't allow a touchdown, 2 receptions of 20-plus yards. That was it. Also, 0 penalties all season. Not one single penalty. So it's not like he was caught cheating doing it. Not to say he wasn't cheating. And by cheating, I don't mean like Spygate, kind of that the Belichick level of cheating. I mean, holding is technically cheating against the rules. But as they say, it's only cheating if you get caught. So not saying that he wasn't doing it. He was just really good at not getting caught. And that's what you want. You want the guys who are really skilled at cheating.
Evasive cheating. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys don't have anything else to add here or with any of these other players, we will get into our rankings. So we're going to have 18 total players on our big board this week. So I put the current rankings in the chat for you guys. So I'll read them off for everybody who's listening. So our current rankings 1 through 12 are 1, Caleb Downs, 2, Arvell Reese, 3, Fernando Mendoza, 4, Francis Maui Noah, 5, Sonny Styles, 6, Jeremiah Love, 7, Carnell Tate, 8, Keldrick Falk, 9, Jordan Tyson, 10, David Bailey, 11, Ruben Bain Jr., and 12, Spencer Fano. So on the list, let's start from the top and the bottom, and then we'll kind of fill in the middle from there. So are any of these players, do you think, are they going in the top 3?
No.
Avery?
No.
Okay. I agree. So Caleb Downs, Arvell Reese, and Fernando Mendoza are staying at 3, or 1, 2, 3. Do you think Spencer Fano is still the worst player on this list?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost like you knew that was coming.
Yes, I did, because I think he's the worst player on this list as well. What about Ruben Bain? He's currently at 11. Where would you guys put Ruben Bain in comparison to these other guys that we just scouted?
I have Ruben Bain ranked at number 16 for me.
Hey, that's where I had him too.
Ooh, who you have at
I can see that.
17?
I have Denzel Boston.
Same, dog. Same.
Avery, do you have any issue with that, or do you agree?
No, that sounds great. That sounds great.
I have
Okay.
no one breaking into my top 8 this week. I think you'll disagree with Makai Lemon, but I have no one currently breaking into my
Yes.
top 8.
Okay, so Avery, where do you put Makai Lemon?
I'd put him above Carnell Tate. Honestly, I'd put him above Jeremiah Love.
Because I have him at 4, but I'm really, really high on Makai Lemon. So
Nah, I wouldn't want to. I can understand and mostly agree with your hype on him, but simply because he's just a skill position player that I think,
I don't think
I could
Makai
be
Lemon's going to be a
convinced.
better NFL athlete, whatever you want to call it, than Sonny Styles.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
willing to
I
I'm
would-
willing to move it. It's an overall thing, so I'm willing to move him around.
I-
That's just where I personally put him.
I can agree with above Jeremiah Love, but I don't think he cracks the top 5.
I would
Okay.
agree with Will. I would put him at 6 and move everyone down one position.
Okay, so you want to keep our current top 5 of Downs, Reese, Mendoza, Maui Noah, and Styles, and then put
Yep.
him at 6. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
I'll be honest. I like where we just put him, but if Makai Lemon was initially ranked by whatever professionals and we had him the first time, like we had him in that first top 6, I could see him being higher. I think partly it's just because we've already established so many other names that just skyrocketing him up almost feels a little irresponsible.
Then Will
If
just
that
bringing
makes
his
sense.
ranking down.
I had him at 8. We're putting him at 6. Why are we? That's not
There's a
even
big
that
difference
far
between
off.
4. There's a big difference between 4 and 8.
Well, sure, 4 numbers.
It's literally
so
how
since-
big it is.
Okay, so since we moved Jeremiah Love down, do you want to keep him at 7, or do you want to move him down more? Because I think Delane should go at 7. That's where I have Delane ranked. I have him ranked at 7, and I have Love at 8.
I'm good with that. I have
I can do that.
Delane. So I've got Love, Tate, Falk at 7, 8, and 9, and then Delane at 10. But I'm good with moving him up. I think he's a more refined football player than Kendrick Falk. He's probably a better athlete than Carnell Tate, and everyone hates running backs.
I do, yeah.
I'm just trying to do Avery a favor and just move the running back down as far as possible without
far
being
down?
I
unreasonable.
like that.
We
I'm
get Jeremiah
always for that. Yeah,
All right.
Okay, so you guys want to put Delane at 7?
we'll do it.
It's
Okay.
not that I want to.
Do
We're going to do it.
Okay, do you want to move Jeremiah Love down any further than 8?
I mean, personally, I like Tate above Love, but I mean, that might be splitting hairs to a degree.
I mean, we had them right next to each other
passionate
last week.
about
We
that.
had them at 6
Yeah.
and 7 last week. Well, okay, I'm going to keep Love at 8. We'll keep Tate at 9. Where are you guys putting Kenyon Sadiq?
I have him at 11,
I could do that. I could do 11.
right
I think
between
11's solid.
Keldrick Falk and Jordan Tyson.
Okay, where
I
do you
would-
guys have Mesidor? Where do you guys have Mesidor though?
I have him at 15, right above Ruben Bain.
So you think David Bailey's better?
I do. So I've got, let me just run through this real quick. So 10, I've got Keldrick Falk, 11, Sadiq, 12, Jordan Tyson, 13, Lomu, 14, Bailey, 15, Mesidor, 16, Bain, 17, Boston, 18, Fano.
I would put Mesidor higher.
I would too. I think
Again,
he's better.
I'm fine with that. I just, ranked them.
The only reason to move him down is because he's 25, or he's going to be a 25-year-old rookie. That's the only reason that people will move him down.
Yeah, that whatever.
All right, so do you guys want to keep put Falk at 10?
I need to see like a active live list,
It's in the chat.
even though it's not complete. Just someone put it in there.
Oh,
We'll put it in there.
All 18.
Yeah, all 18.
Oh, we'll put 1 through 9.
So the Reds are.
Yeah.
I guess it's not
I want to
showing
see. I want to
red.
see the bottom part. Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't put up the last number, but Spencer Fano doesn't deserve a number. We will eventually find a player worse than him, but we have not done it yet.
Not yet. I have a feeling it might be next week, but I don't know for sure yet.
I'll be honest. I would put Kenyon Sadiq down 2 positions.
To 13?
Yeah, and then move the other 2 guys up.
I'm totally good with that.
'Kay.
So put Sadiq at 13. So we got to fill in spaces 10, 11, 14, and 15, or 10, 11, 12, 14, and 15. Do you guys think anybody on this list is better than Falk, or are we going to put him at 10?
I like him at 10.
I'm cool with that.
Okay. I have Mesidor at 11. Avery, where do you have Mesidor?
I would like him to be higher than he is right now on that tentative list right there at 15.
I agree.
I'm good with them moving up.
Okay, so here's who we have left. We've got Mesidor, Jordan Tyson, David Bailey, Caleb Lomu. Personally, just because of the injuries, I'm moving Jordan Tyson down. I just keep moving him down because of the injuries.
Sure.
So if you guys are good with Mesidor at 11, I would like to put him there.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. So then do you guys want to put Jordan Tyson at 12?
I feel like if anything, let's just nitpick this thing right here.
Okay, so Jordan Tyson at 12, and then at 15, we would have David Bailey, and 14, we would have Caleb Lomu. Okay, is that what you guys want to stick with?
I like it for now.
So just to recap, our top 18 on our big board right now. 1 is Caleb Downs. 2 is Arvell Reese. 3 is Fernando Mendoza. 4 is Francis Maui Noah. 5 is Sonny Styles. 6, Makai Lemon. 7, Mansoor Delane. 8, Jeremiah Love. 9, Carnell Tate. 10, Keldrick Falk. 11, Akeem Mesidor. 12, Jordan Tyson. 13, Kenyon Sadiq. 14, Caleb Lomu. 15, David Bailey. 16, Ruben Bain. 17, Denzel Boston. And 18, Spencer Fano. You guys good with that?
Yeah, I'm not great with the way that Jeremiah's mother spelled his name, but I'm not going to lower him any lower.
You also
Because of
mentioned that
that.
last year with Jackson Dart, so.
Yeah, that's the most Utah name I've ever seen. And I know a lot of our listeners don't understand what that means, but I promise you it's accurate. It's dead on accurate.
Okay. All right. Well, if you
Cool.
guys don't have anything else, then we're going to wrap it up. So next week, we will be scouting the players that are ranked 19th through 24th on the ESPN Top 50 Big Board. But that's all we got time for on our episode today. And as always, guys, don't forget to keep your balls played with. We'll see you next time.
Bye now, y'all. Also, Mark Davis' haircut still sucks.